My name is Chris, and today we're going to talk about your listening preferences. Welcome to the Vinyl Attack. Before we dig into this week's topic, I have a couple of announcements to make. Firstly, last week's video testing, the DStat-3, has been a great success for the channel, and I'm very happy with all the feedback I've received, not only about the testing I did, but some future testing you'd all like to see. So to help purchase the necessary tools and gear in which you're all interested, I'm starting a Patreon page. It's not quite ready to go yet, as I'm making sure that the rewards are up to par with the quality I'm aiming to achieve, but it won't be long now. With your support, this move will help the channel grow immensely, allowing me to buy the things you'd like to see and have tested, and you'll be able to help the channel for as little as $1 a month. Second, we're on the threshold of 5,000 subscribers, and as soon as we cross that mark, I'll be making a video on how you can enter to win that Uberlight 4100 you've seen on the channel not long ago. If you haven't subbed already, you'll want to do so to be eligible to win. You don't get extra credit if you hit the like button, but it does make you cooler. Lastly, t-shirts are on the way. I have the designs I want to start with all ready to go. I'm just going over a testing phase to see which brand of shirt I want to use. Rest assured that I'm not going to just slap a logo on a cheap shirt and try and pawn it off on you. I'll be wearing this thing too, and I'll be damned if any of us will be stuck with an uncomfortable, itchy shirt with a lousy fit, so stay tuned for news on both of these topics, and let's move on with today's episode. A little while back, I was having a conversation with my hi-fi guy Chris about sound reproduction as it pertains to integrated amplifiers. I was going over a few choices of upgrades I had in mind and what each brought to the table. One of the things mentioned that made me take particular note is the house sound of a company. That is to say, how every major manufacturer creates a range of products that have a particular sound quality generally associated with them. Macintosh is known for a very easy to listen to sound with a slightly rolled off high end, ample low end, and being big and dynamic. Hagel seems to be known for their completely black backgrounds with zero hiss. While their soundstage is a little more narrow, it's also much taller. Being a musician for the better part of my life, coming up with the tone in my amp and my guitar setup was paramount to my musical identity. Around my city, if you wanted to be taken seriously as a guitar player, you needed to have your tone serious as well. My area had a small group of bands and musicians that were pretty revered, and they didn't open up quality conversations to just anyone. No, they weren't interested in wasting time talking shop with someone just off the street who had no idea what they're doing. They wanted to know that you were invested in the craft. Now, that's not to say they were rude to people. They weren't. They'd often help any new player or band on the scene with some polite and quality general advice. But if you wanted to really know about the deeper tricks of the trade and how you can improve your sound, they wanted to see your commitment to tone in return. I was fortunate enough to spend some time with many of these people, and I learned a great deal about what sounded good, active listening, and some just all-around awesome guitar techniques as well. This memory got me thinking about that time in my life, and I'd mentioned it to Chris while discussing the potential integrateds. He'd pointed out to me one of the most interesting things about hi-fi and music when it comes to sound when he said the main difference between musicians and audiophiles are that musicians take time to create their sound, and audiophiles take a lifetime to recreate that sound. I thought about this for quite a while as it really seemed to resonate with me. After all, I had taken years and years of bartering, trading up, and trying new equipment to get what I thought was an excellent guitar tone. But did I personally care about how it was reproduced on someone else's stereo? It certainly wasn't that I was disagreeing with what Chris had said. He's been a fountain of knowledge for me in my hi-fi journey, and I usually see the benefit of his advice quite quickly. But this time I wasn't 100% sure I agreed with him. Certainly, in part he was correct. The musician's journey was absolutely chasing that sound and putting it on record, tape, digital, or whatever for all time. And certainly, most audiophiles do love to chase that pure, neutral recreation of the intended sound. But was someone not an audiophile if they didn't want an exact recreation? Our musical tastes are as different from person to person as our musical listening gear is. If there was one great combination that proved to be the most accurate, certainly we'd all strive to have it and it'd be all we talked about. But that's far from the case. Instead, there are many manufacturers who produce a host of products that all sound different. From minor details to major tone, there are an infinite possibility of combinations out there waiting for us to try. So what was our fascination with making sure we had the most accurate reproduction? Moreover, how do we actually know what that even is? Clearly, none of us were in the studio when Hendrix recorded All Along the Watchtower, so how can we be 100% sure we know what sound he really had or what tone he was going after? We can't. I'd say we have a very reasonable idea, but if you get right down to it, we really can't say with complete confidence that our stereo can reproduce his tone exactly. So does that make us wrong? One of the frustrations I have with the hi-fi community, and one of the major reasons for my wanting to start this channel, are the people who try to tell you without hesitation that you are listening wrong. Have an inexpensive amp? You're wrong. Can't afford a top-end turntable? You're wrong. You don't have the latest DAC chipset in your room-ready streamer? Wrong. You actually use an EQ with your system? You're not only wrong, you're a leper and should be exiled from the internet before you infect others with your disease. Let me be completely clear when I say that this is all bullshit. Every one of us is in a different place in our lives, and we often turn to music for happiness. Maybe we've had a bad day. Maybe we just need a break. Maybe it's time to celebrate and have some fun. Whatever the case, our reasons for listening are as individual as we are, and I say that falls directly into the sound that we prefer. I've discovered that I quite like the Marantz house sound. It's a little warmer and has great detail with a nice wide soundstage that really makes me happy. I've actually heard many people call it muddy though, and that the company is trying to be a throwback to the 70s when Marantz was actually good. Is this true? Well, I certainly don't think so, and since I'm the one putting my money down to buy the product, I'm really the only one who needs to be happy. I really don't care if I'm impressing someone else with my 2 channel. It's for me. Well, and the people I share it with when they come over to visit, I suppose, but my friends and family aren't who would judge me on a stereo. So where am I going with this? Mainly, sometimes that we get so wrapped up in the latest gadget, or amp, or speaker that we tend to forget why we're buying it in the first place. We read reviews online and see the spats between several audiophiles on a message board that tend to preach to us what we're supposed to like and dislike. And while Chris wasn't wrong with his analogy of musicians and audiophiles, I also think it's good to take a statement like that and really give it a think to see if it makes sense to you. He has years of experience, but he'd also be the first one to tell you that you have to live with your system, and getting the best sound from it is ultimately going to be what you think sounds best. We can try and steer you in the right direction as far as build quality and what we think sounds good, but don't let anyone ever tell you with absolution that you're doing it wrong. The fact is, you're not wrong. They are. Anytime they try to dictate what you like and what you should want to hear. So what about you? Have you had some jerk on the internet try to shame you with your lack of hi-fi gear while safely seated behind the anonymity of a computer screen? Have you long since figured out that it really doesn't matter what these people think, and you do your own thing? Do you have a house sound or particular brand that you like and makes you enjoy your music that much more? Let us all know in the comments, and let's have a conversation about it. Chances are you'll be opened up to a whole new list of brands and items you might want to try in the future in what seems to be our never-ending quest for what we consider to be the best sound. I look forward to hearing from you, and I look forward to next time.